Hello, this is the live webinar series with me, your host, Lena Benjamin at Benjamin Property Services and Property Business Club on the live webinar series, as I say, London Property Investing Strategy, helping you to find, purchase and refurb properties for UK real estate wealth. Okay, let's get going with this webinar. So the London Property Investment Strategies at London Property Investing webinar.eventbrite.co.uk. You can sign up there for the webinar series. We've already been through Buy, Renovate, Rent, Refinance, which was in January, which you can watch on the website at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk. Then we went on to Serviced Accommodation, which was in February, and then HMO, House of Multiple Occupants, in March, and today it's Student Accommodation. This is the April series, London Property Investment Strategies webinar. And then in May, co-living; in June, corporate housing; in July, mixed use; and in September, buy, refurb, flip. So London student accommodation strategy as a viable investment opportunity in the London real estate, or the UK real estate investment environment, as it were. But just a bit more information about Benjamin Property Service. Now, the value we bring is over 10 years of landlord, that's residential landlord, real estate agency and global PLC multidisciplinary engineering consultancy experience, working collaboratively with other experienced property professionals to deliver you UK property purchases for cash flow, profit or equity. Now, the property services we utilise and we can deliver to our clients are off-market search and acquisition, project managed refurbishment and or structural changes, area tours for property purchases. We source and negotiate the purchase of real estate on behalf of entrepreneurs, executives and enterprises worldwide, now with a particular focus on London and Kent areas within the United Kingdom. Now, the opportunity of student accommodation on this particular webinar on the London investment strategy, property investment strategy, is the student accommodation. Now, the opportunity, let's have a look at that. Now, if you want to diversify your investment portfolio, you probably already have investments in your investment portfolio, whether it be real estate or stocks and shares, or investments in angel investments in other particular investment vehicles. But maybe now you want to diversify your investment portfolio, and student accommodation is a huge one, particularly in the United Kingdom and in particular London. Now, this is going to help you to diversify your investment portfolio, as I say, but it's also going to be a great opportunity for cash flow management. Now, when the time is right for investing in London property and London real estate, cash flow is king, of course, and students will always be a cash flow for you who want to diversify your investment portfolio. It's a great asset accumulation, and there's an opportunity of an exit strategy, particularly if you want to sell it back to another investor, for example, in your portfolio or and your network. But you also may want to sell it to the university that you've been accommodating for the particular student accommodation. So a great opportunity to build up cash flow, great asset accumulation. And if you are going to be in London, or you are relocating into the London area or the UK area, and you want to diversify your investment portfolio, a great opportunity is student accommodation. Now, the types of student accommodation you will want to look at if you are thinking about this particular investment strategy is house flat share. Now, you can get us to find these particular properties for you, and we'll come on to that and how we source on your behalf off market for a good below market value opportunity. But you may want to look at the house flat share opportunity. Now, if I was you, would look at the house opportunity, or the opportunity to convert a house into a flat share, or some kind of HMO, house of multiple occupants. Now, this is a great opportunity with the house is freehold. You definitely want a freehold property. If you have and are diversifying your investment portfolio, you want to make sure you own the whole shebang, basically. So the freehold of the property will enable you to actually convert the property, particularly if it's an area, and you'll have to check with the local authority for that area. That's the local government for the area in London. Now, there's 33 London boroughs, and we'll come on to that as well. But you would want to convert a freehold property into some kind of house of multiple occupants for students to share. And you obviously want to make sure it is in the area of where the students are going to be at, or where there's great transportation links into where the universities are. Now, as you may know, there's from my vast experience in the built environment perspective, that's where we can help you understand which areas to actually target, because we know what's going on in terms of buildings and transportation wise. Now, you'd always want to look at the properties in areas where there's going to be more transportation in the future. That's give you a hint in terms of that. You will always want to make sure that is the process, so that they can, as in the students, can get from where they are into the area. And it also is a great opportunity to increase value, and it's also an opportunity to increase the opportunity to get in there while the iron is hot within that particular area before the prices surge up. Now, you may want to also do the private flat, which is obviously purchasing a flat. I would go with not so much leasehold, but a flat where there is share of the freehold. So you can actually make sure that you can, either take over the whole of the freehold of the entire flats, and actually make sure that you can rent out to the whole flat, or the whole block of flat, to all of the students. And this way, you know that the entire block of flats is yours, and it's just a student accommodation. You know that is the case there. You may want to look at the private sector halls of residence, whereby you create this commercial property into some kind of residential. Now, there's some great opportunities in terms of being able to remove any of the tax liabilities there. Now, we're not a financial advisors, but we know that there are a few opportunities whereby if you're converting commercial to residential, in this particular case, it will be the commercial into a private sector halls of residence for the students, then and we know that there is limited on tax in terms of being able to convert. So instead of paying 20% on the VAT, that's the value added tax, you pay 5% on any materials when you're converting the property from the commercial to the residential. So there's ways and means that you can do that and not have to have that tax liability there when it comes to converting a commercial to a residential, and in particular for this type of strategy, the student accommodation strategy in London. Now, for the UK real estate wealth with online membership, going back to us at Bench Property Services and Property Business Club, we offer a membership, an online membership for those people who are not already in the UK or are in the UK and want to learn a bit more about UK real estate wealth, and doing so by themselves. It almost gives you a do-it-yourself opportunity. So this in this membership, you gain actionable content that you can utilize, and that will be things like a step-by-step process to establishing your wealth. And that could be contracts in relation to option contracts, or contracts in relation to when you get the property, to actually make sure that you've got the landlord certificate, all the landlord information, and all the landlord agreements, etc., etc. We also provide you with off-market property deal alerts that no one else would have access to apart from members of the online membership club at Property Business Club. Also offer service discounts. So instead of paying, for example, full whack on the refurb of a property, project management of that property, instead of paying £500, you would pay significantly less, 50% or more less, in order to convert and to make sure that the property is in with standard, and we are project managing it on your behalf. Now, there is a month plan or an annual plan on the Property Business Club. But the annual plan includes 2 hours of online real estate mentorship with me, as I say, with over 10 years of real estate, residential real estate experience in terms of being a landlord and a real estate agent, and also understanding the built and natural environment from a global perspective, from a built environments perspective. So fully qualified to be able to provide the 2 hours of online real estate mentorship per month for the duration of the annual plan. Now, the plans are from £49, and they were taken securely with using Stripe, using a credit or debit card, and you can join and sign in via benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/PBC, as you can see if you are watching this particular webinar. Now, securing the property, that's where we can come in, as I explained before, on the student accommodation strategy here on the London Property Investment Strategy webinar series with me, Lena Benjamin, your host at Benjamin Property Services, property consultant there. We can do a joint venture partnership with you, and you can commission us to actually secure you the property on your behalf, and we would do that, and we would find that property on your behalf. And if you go to benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/new client, you'll be able to find out how you can become a client of ours, so we can secure off-market properties and secure those and negotiate the purchase of those properties for you and for your behalf, to make sure the figures stack up and that you are getting a great deal. Everyone is getting a great deal in terms of the vendor, the legal owner of the property, you as the purchaser of the property. We would make sure that we liaise with the legal representative who's closing the deal to make sure that you get an all-round opportunity for securing this student accommodation. Now, we also, when it comes to securing the property, we look at the review of areas of interest. So we would review the areas of interest on your behalf, but you should, if you are not going to be commissioning us, when it comes to securing a property, is to really have an identification of the areas of interest. What's the transportation links there? Are there universities nearby? And if they're not nearby, is there transportation nearby? And always make sure, and this is what we always do, to secure the property directly from the owner. There's no middle person. You're going directly to the owner, and you are negotiating the deal with them. Now, the finance construction for actually making sure that you can purchase this student accommodation, or this structure, this building that you are going to be converting into a student accommodation, make sure you get a mortgage broker or some kind of JV, which is a joint venture finance. So you might be utilising other people's money in that respect. So the mortgage broker, if it is you're turning it from commercial to residential, get a commercial mortgage broker, or who knows both the resi side of things, the residential side of things, and the commercial side of things. But if you're utilising other people's money, family office is a great way of securing that, and there's a JV there, and that that you can pull some money from the deal after a while, and also just give it back to them, as it were. So you might want to find out about joint venture financing. You might have a company already, and you might be able to pull some money from that company, and utilize that money when you're coming to diversifying your investment portfolio, as we've described before. You may want to pull that money out of the company in order to finance the deal. You're going to want to make sure that you have when it comes to construction, planning permission from the local authority, that's the local government in the area of London. If you're looking at London, or if you're looking at Kent, you're going to have to make sure that the planning permission is in existence, as it were. But it may be if you're commissioning us to source the property on your behalf, we may come across someone who is financially distressed and wants to remove themselves of the burden of this student accommodation already existing, already in place, that it's already done. They've got the planning permission, they've got everything's already done, it might need to be spruced up a bit, but we can find those people on your behalf and negotiate deals on your behalf. So there's no planning permission there if we're going to be sourcing directly from the vendor, and I suggest you do and think about doing that yourselves. But if you're commissioning us, that's what we would do. We would do our due diligence and make sure that they are the legal owner and that they are wanting to negotiate a deal, and we would negotiate that deal on your behalf. But if it's not, then planning permission should be required, particularly if it needs to be converted into something that would resemble a student accommodation. So the conversion of rooms would need to be apt in the way that students live, in terms of at least maybe having a sink in the room, or having a opportunity where there's a shower or there's a desk space, something of that nature, whereby you can convert this room into a bedsit-like structure. So you're looking at something that is at least a 4 or 5 bedroom property, something that can be converted. So you might be looking at a townhouse, you might be looking at a Victorian structure, you may be looking at, as I say, commercial outlet, some kind of office space that can be converted. You may be looking at other opportunities as well. So you want to make sure that the rooms can be converted into a structure that would accommodate students. You want to make sure that there's shared bathroom, but there's maybe an ensuite, and you may want to make sure that the construction, if it needs to be constructed in a way to accommodate the student accommodation, that there is ensuite for some of those rooms as well. Kitchen, make sure the kitchen is big enough to accommodate a double fridge freezer, microwaves too, potentially, and washer dryer, and it's furnished, and the amenities are of such a good enough standard, but that they can take the wear and tear of students. Now, the areas that we concentrate on at Benjamin Property Services is in the London and Kent areas, but we will cover the other parts of the UK. Now, if you don't know and you are watching this webinar from outside of the UK, and even if you're inside the UK and you're thinking about investing in student accommodation in the London area, there are 33, and I hope I'm right here, off the top of my head, there's 33 London boroughs, and including the City of London, and we are actually in the Bromley area, in the London Borough of Bromley, and as you can see that on the right hand side on the map there, we are in Bromley there, and we know all the boroughs in London and have a familiarity with the London boroughs and the local councils there, in particular Lewisham, Lambeth, Southwark, Greenwich, Westminster, Islington, Camden, Hackney, and also Ealing as well, and Richmond as well. So, and Wandsworth, sorry. So if you want us to source on your behalf, we are aware of all 33 of them, very familiar, visited them, if not, but have a very good understanding of them, and know what would work in those particular boroughs. Now, the marketing of the student accommodation when it comes to, for example, if you are doing this yourself and you are sourcing and refurbishing and doing all the deals yourself, then you would need to market to the required organisations. And if you're commissioning us to do it, then we would do an open house. We would make sure that the actual property is online rental agency. We would probably actually want to do an open house in a more social distancing point of view, because we're looking at the COVID-19 era. So it could be an open house, but it will be an open house, a virtual open house in respect to that. So a virtual open house would work really well. And if you're doing it yourself and you've got all the technology and all the infrastructure in place to be able to do that, then you can do so yourselves and showcase the property on your website, or on if we were doing it, we would do it on our website and we would showcase it via that opportunity. You may also like to look at an online rental agent in order to actually rent out this particular property. But if you want to make sure that you don't have to, cut into any of your cash flow, as it were, then you may want to do that yourself. But having it on an online portal still gives it a good opportunity to let really, really quickly. Of course, you want to go directly to the London University, and some London universities actually have an opportunity whereby they will connect with landlords, and that is a great opportunity to do so. You can do a Google search and you can see which London universities directly connect with London universities, and we can also point you in the right direction of those online rental agents who specifically target the student marketplace in order to rent out the property and market the property to students very, very quickly, because they have those students on their books. Now, the other stuff that you want to look into in terms of student accommodation, obviously getting paid. And if you're using an agent, then they would take a commission from your cash flow each month. Or you may want to just organise a property manager to be able to do the maintenance, cleaning and all that kind of stuff. You may want to have an opportunity whereby one of the students, particularly if they are of the older variety. Now you might want to look at those older students who are coming into the UK. Got to mention that in terms of the types of students you're looking at. If you're looking at the ones that are had their masters or they're doing their PhDs and they are the older variety, the property manager could be one of the students, and you could reduce their fee of the house in order to make sure that they look after the property, maintenance, cleaning wise. They may have a building environment and type of previous experience, so they would be able to more than able to look after the property while they're studying and have that opportunity as well. So you may want to look at the types of students, not the millennials, but you might want to be looking at the Gen X and maybe even the baby boomers who are maybe going back to university to get their university degree, in terms of maybe it might be a master's from the London Business School or wherever they are. Because, as I say, I don't think I have mentioned actually, I am very, very familiar with the London universities, given that I've been to three London universities, including the University of Westminster, where I got my Master of Business Administration. So that's one thing that you might want to have a look at when it comes to that as well. Having a property whereby it's in an area that there's going to need to be opportunities for students, but students that are of the older variety. And one of those students could be your property manager that could have a decrease in the amount that they're paying in rent in order to look after the property on your behalf. And therefore you get paid more on cash flow each and every month. Now, going back to Benjamin Property Services, we offer introducers a 5-figure passive income per year from the introduction of business contacts or property investments with the financial means. Now, the financial opportunity for you as an introducer to our off-market property search and acquisition service is 20% commission from our commissions. Now, new clients pay £1,000, which is refunded from the 1.5% commission on the first negotiated property purchase, which means they don't pay a penny, they only pay the 1.5%, but that we negotiate on their behalf, 1.5% commission on the first negotiated property purchase. And if they choose to use us again, we don't charge anything because they've already paid the refundable amount, and we can continue negotiating on each of the properties that they want us to find on their behalf, making sure that we are looking at the 1.5% commission on each of those negotiated property purchases that they utilize our services. And you get 20% off that 1.5% commission. So it can be a substantial amount if they choose to utilize our off-market property search and acquisition service throughout the 12-month period. You can quite easily go home with a 5-figure passive income just for introducing one business contact or property investor with the financial means to do so. Now, both new clients and introducers can sign up at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk. Digitally signing of agreements can be done online there. And of course, you can make sure that you contact us via benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk, and you may want to have schedule in a 15 to 20 minutes conversation, particularly if you're a new client. If you're an introducer, then please do send an email via the contacts us page, which is at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/contact-us, or you can go to benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk and click on contact from there, or you can just become an introducer there and then and sign up, which is free to do so, and you can introduce your contact from there. Now, we've gone through the London Student Accommodation Strategy today on webinar 4 of the webinar series, and we've looked at the opportunity of being the London Student Accommodation Strategy, diversifying your portfolio, and looking at student accommodation as a viable cash flowing opportunity. And we've looked at the types of student accommodation, very much private led, looking at converting, or looking at the types of properties whereby the landlord of these student accommodations that already exist does not want to have this property anymore. So you can then go on to do that, and that's when it comes to securing the property. Securing the property, we've looked at, we can do that on your behalf off market, particularly if you're not in the UK, you're outside of the UK, either outside the country of the UK or you're outside of London altogether. But in the UK, and you want someone who has the know-how to be able to find these particular off-market opportunities for you and secure the opportunity for you on your behalf. We looked at the finance and the construction of the property as well, and we looked at marketing, and there's also other stuff that we looked at as well, and introduced the fact that you can actually, if you're looking at a specific type of student that maybe is not a millennial, but you may be looking at those who are of the older variety, and have the financial means and are doing a master's or a PhD as part of this. They've been sort of commissioned almost to do so, and so they've got the finances there already, and they are looking for a property to rent, and this is a great way for you to get a property manager for slightly less, and that would also increase your cash flow every month as well. Now, when we come to the off-market property search and acquisition, if you're looking at this yourself, we always focus on the strategy. What is your strategy? In this particular instance, student accommodation. But what is your strategy and what are you trying to achieve? And what's the cash flow? Is it cash flow profit or is it equity? What are you trying to achieve? And that's what you should look at. And you should always look at it as a business that you are looking to recoup some kind of investment from, either from the short, medium or long term. Now, we source the properties within 3 months if you want to commission us to do so, and you can do so at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk. We do so within 3 months. We provide you with comprehensive property reports. We negotiate the purchase on your behalf with the legal owner, and we work with a legal representative to close deals. We can do the project management of the refurbishment or structural changes, and we make sure the property is ready for occupancy. We can also arrange the open house. Now, you can do all that at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/new client. Or you can just go on to benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk and click on Become a Client to get started there. Now, we work for you at Benjamin Property Services should you want to commission us to source off-market property search and acquisition. So it's all about you. Unlike estate agents who I've worked for in the past, we work for you. And we don't work for the seller or the landlord or anything like that. We work for you. We are about empowering your property investing, flipping or relocation goals with a focused, and you can bet your bottom dollar, focused property sourcing service in the UK, specifically London and Kent. And as you know, it's delivered by an experienced team. You can see our testimonials at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/client-feedback. Or why not just grill me and have a conversation to really understand how we work and how we can work for you by scheduling a free, no obligation consultation to talk about, the off-market property search and acquisition. You can do that at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/schedule, or you can just click on book a call, and that will lead you to a scheduling page where you can schedule in your time zone. Now, if you want to get started with the property search and acquisition service, the registration form is at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/new client. You can schedule that consultation, as I said, at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk/schedule. The website, benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk. I hope you come onto there and just schedule a no obligation consultation so we can talk about, what the property search and acquisition service looks like for you, what you're trying to achieve, cash flow, profit or equity. There's my details. If you're looking at this particular webinar, you can get in touch by emailing lenab@benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk. Visit the website at benjaminpropertyservices.co.uk. You can call the office, the switchboard on 44, which is the UK number, 208-720-6460. Now, if you already are in the UK, it's just 0208-720-6460. You can call the mobile, which is 44 UK 447591 412 400. And if you are from the UK, it is just 07591 412 400. Now, that number is also on Telegram, and FaceTime or iMessage. If you have an iPhone, you can send through that free of charge. And if you want to download the app, Telegram app, you can call or send a message via Telegram on that mobile number provided there. So thank you so much for your participation in this. I've had some WhatsApp messages, and if there are any questions that you have following on from this, please let me know, and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as humanly possible. So thanks very much for joining us on this London Student Accommodation Strategy Webinar 4 with me, Lena Benjamin, property consultant at Benjamin Property Services.